By adopting a 6-year-old girl, a millionaire believes he is finally building a family. However, a simple video on social media attracts the attention of a woman who claims to know a dark secret about the child. From one day to the next, he finds himself between devastating accusations and the truth that no one expected. Now the question is, will he be arrested, or will he end up revealing a mystery buried in the past? If this story interests you, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Tell us which city you're watching us from and we'll keep going. Daniel Müller gazed out at the city from his office on the top floor of the imposing building that bore his name. At the age of 38, he had built a business empire that placed him among the most influential men in the country. The reflection in the glass showed a tall man with striking features and piercing blue eyes, always impeccably dressed in his tailored Italian suits. That autumn morning, as he was reviewing financial reports, his secretary Lena, who had been with him for more than a decade, entered the room with a different expression than usual. "Mr. Müller, Dr. Amelia from the Novos Caminos Foundation is here for the scheduled meeting." Daniel frowned, checking his digital calendar. He didn't remember having scheduled any meetings with representatives of charities. He was about to dismiss the visit when Lena added, "You promised your father before he left that you would continue the family's social work." The mention of his father made Daniel hesitate. Alexander Müller had always been the balance between the business and the human side of the family. His absence 6 months ago had left a void that Daniel tried to fill by immersing himself even more in work. "Okay, Lena, ask to come in." Dr. Amelia was a middle-aged woman with grey hair and a warm smile that contrasted with the coldness of the corporate environment. She carried with her a briefcase full of documents and a tablet. "Mr. Müller, thank you for having me. Your father was one of the greatest supporters of our foundation, and we hope to count on your continued support in this important work." Daniel gestured to the chair across from him, maintaining his professional demeanor. "Please be objective. I have a video conference in 30 minutes. The social worker was not intimidated by the businessman's coldness. Instead, she opened her tablet and began showing photos of children. "Our foundation currently cares for 87 children, all waiting for a family. Not only did your father contribute financially, but he visited the facility regularly, knowing each child by name." "Dr. Amelia," Daniel interrupted, "if it's money you need, I can instruct my finance department to keep up the monthly donations." "Actually, Mr. Müller, I came for something more specific." She slid her finger across the screen, stopping at a specific photo. "This is Sophia." The image showed a 6-year-old girl with wavy brown hair and honey-colored eyes that seemed to shine even through the screen. There was something about her smile that captured Daniel's attention instantly. Sophia arrived at the foundation a few weeks ago. She is an extraordinary child, extremely intelligent and sensitive. Her father met her on his last visit and... She paused, as if choosing her words. "He expressed the wish that you meet her." Daniel felt a tightness in his chest. His father had never mentioned this specific girl in their last conversations. Why me? Because Alexander saw something special in Sophia. He said she had the same sparkle in her eyes that you had as a child before... She didn't finish the sentence, but Daniel knew. Before his mother left, before he closed himself off from the world, against his will, Daniel found himself asking more about the girl. He discovered that Sophia loved music, had a knack for numbers, and spent hours reading books in the foundation's library. She was polite, affectionate, and above all, resilient. "I'm not suggesting an immediate adoption," Dr. Amelia clarified, noticing the tension on the businessman's face. "But how about starting with visits, getting to know her without any commitment?" Daniel stood up, walking to the window. The city continued its frenetic pace below, but something inside him had subtly changed. "When?" The word escaped his lips before he could stop it. "How about this Saturday? Sophia usually plays the piano in the morning in the music room." At that moment, Lena re-entered the room, remembering about the video conference. Daniel nodded, returning to his usual businessman pose. "Saturday at 10 a.m. he confirmed, surprising both Dr. Amelia and himself. After the social worker left, Daniel stood for a few minutes looking at Sophia's photo on the card that Dr. Amelia had left on his desk. There was something about that child that intrigued him, that made him question his well-established certainties. Lena, who knew him better than anyone, noticed the subtle change in his expression. "Is there a problem, Mr. Müller?" "No, Lena, just clear my calendar for Saturday morning and cancel any appointments I have." That night, in his penthouse, Daniel found himself thinking about the girl with the bright smile. He poured himself a drink and walked to his office, where a photo of him and his father took pride of place. Alexander smiled in the picture, that warm smile he had missed so much. "What were you trying to tell me, Father?" he muttered to himself as the sounds of the night city filled the silence of his solitude. What Daniel didn't know was that that simple meeting, that single photo of a smiling girl, was about to set off a chain of events that would change his life forever. The man who had built walls around himself was about to discover that a few smiles have the power to tear down even the strongest fortresses. Saturday dawned with a typical light drizzle. Daniel, contrary to his usual habits, woke up before his alarm. For the first time in years, he felt nervous. He changed from his traditional suit to jeans and a navy blue sweater, a conscious attempt to appear less intimidating. The Novos Caminos Foundation was housed in a restored mansion in the EE neighborhood. The well-kept garden and pastel-colored walls created a welcoming atmosphere, a far cry from the corporate coldness he was accustomed to. As he pulled his Porsche into the driveway, Daniel noticed children playing on the playground, their laughter echoing through the humid morning. Dr. Amelia was waiting for him at the reception, her warm smile contrasting with the anxiety he was trying to hide. "Good morning, Mr. Müller. Sophia is in the music room as usual. On Saturdays, she has a particular ritual. She plays the piano for about an hour before breakfast." As they walked through the corridors decorated with children's drawings, Daniel noticed the curious looks of the children and the staff. His presence there was clearly an unusual event. The soft sound of a piano began to fill the room, a simple melody played with dedication by small hands. As they approached the music room, Daniel felt his heart inexplicably accelerate. Sophia sat at the piano intent on her music. Her feet barely reached the pedals, and she had to stretch a bit to reach some of the keys, but her determination was evident. She wore a light blue dress, and her brown hair was tied back in two delicate braids. "Can I come in alone?" Daniel asked Dr. Amelia, surprising himself with the request. The social worker nodded, moving away discreetly. Daniel remained at the door for a few moments, just watching. Sophia continued playing, oblivious to his presence, completely immersed in her music. When the melody ended, Daniel clapped softly. The girl turned, her honey-colored eyes meeting his with a mixture of curiosity and shyness. "You play very well," he said, approaching slowly. Sophia smiled, a smile that lit up her entire face. "Thank you. I'm still learning. Aunt Mary teaches me on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but I like to practice on my own too." There was a maturity in her speech that surprised Daniel. She indicated the piano bench, inviting him to sit down. "Want to learn an easy song?" Daniel hesitated. It had been decades since he had played the piano, not since the forced lessons he had learned as a child. But something in Sophia's hopeful gaze made him accept. "That's the song Grandpa Alexander taught me," she commented casually, causing Daniel to freeze for a moment. "You knew my father?" Sophia nodded, her small fingers gliding smoothly over the keys. "He used to come and watch me play. He said I reminded him of the granddaughter he never had, and he taught me that song." The simplicity with which she spoke of Alexander made something inside Daniel snap. His father, always so concerned with maintaining family traditions, had found in Sophia a connection that he himself had rejected for years. For the next hour, Daniel found himself completely immersed in Sophia's world. She played him her favorite songs, told him about her favorite books, and explained with surprising clarity why she thought clouds were sad when it rained. "Sometimes," she said, looking out the window, "I think they cry because they're all alone up there. But then the sun comes out and makes a rainbow, which is like a colorful hug for them." The way Sophia saw the world, with a mix of innocence and wisdom, touched Daniel in a way he didn't expect. It was as if she had the power to see through the layers of protection he had built up over the years. When Dr. Amelia returned to announce that it was time for breakfast, Daniel realized that he had completely lost track of time. "Are you coming back?" Sophia asked, her voice carrying a hope he didn't have the heart to disappoint. "Yes, I will be back," he replied, surprised by the certainty in his voice. On the way back home, Daniel didn't turn on the radio as usual. He preferred to let the notes of the song Sophia had played echo in his mind. For the first time in a long time, the silence of his life didn't seem so heavy. In his apartment, he sat at the piano that he kept more as a decorative piece than a musical instrument. His fingers found the keys, hesitantly playing the simple melody that Sophia had taught him. The notes sounded different now, charged with a meaning that he did not yet fully understand. That night, before he went to sleep, Daniel did something he hadn't done in years. He smiled at his reflection in the mirror. The man staring back at him looked different, as if the ice surrounding his heart had begun ever so subtly to melt. The following weeks established a new routine in Daniel Müller's life. Every Saturday, at 10 a.m. sharp, his Porsche would park in front of the Novos Caminos Foundation. His employees began to notice subtle changes in his behavior. Occasional smiles, less harshness in meetings, and a new folder in his digital planner titled Saturday Appointments that was untouchable. One of those mornings, as Sophia proudly showed off her drawings, she asked a question that caught Daniel off guard. "Why do you always come to see me but never take me for walks like other adults do with other children?" The innocent question struck Daniel like a bolt from the blue. It was true that other children at the foundation occasionally went out with families interested in adoption. He had kept himself in the safe zone of supervised visits, afraid of raising expectations, both in Sophia and in himself. "Would you like to go for a walk?" he asked, trying to keep his voice casual. Sophia's eyes lit up. "Can we go to the park? The one with the duck pond? Aunt Amelia said it's really close by." That same afternoon, after a series of bureaucratic procedures and signed authorizations, Daniel found himself walking through the park alongside an excited Sophia. She held his hand naturally, as if that gesture was something they had always done. "Look, Daniel, the ducks have little babies." Sophia pointed excitedly to a family of ducks swimming near the shore. "They're ducklings," he corrected gently, surprising himself with his own smile. "Do you want to feed them?" They bought corn from a street vendor, and Sophia spent the next few minutes feeding the birds with extreme care, making sure that even the smallest duckling got its share. "Did you know that ducks always come home, even when they fly far away?" Sophia commented thoughtfully. "Sometimes I wonder if I have a place like that to go back to, too." The comment made Daniel's heart clench. He crouched down to her level. "Sophia, do you know why I keep coming back to see you every Saturday?" She shook her head. "Because you did something I thought was impossible. You made me want to be a better person. And you know what? I think I found a place to come back to too. It's where you are." Sophia's eyes filled with tears, but her smile was radiant. Without warning, she threw her arms around Daniel's neck, giving him the first hug they had ever shared. That moment changed everything. The following Monday, Daniel scheduled a meeting with Dr. Amelia. "I want to start the adoption process," he announced, his voice firm and resolute. The social worker smiled as if she had expected this. "It will be a long process, Mr. Müller. We will need to do assessments, home visits, psychological preparation." "I'll do whatever it takes," he interrupted, "and please call me Daniel." The following months were full of intense transformation. Daniel renovated one of the bedrooms in his penthouse, transforming it into a space worthy of a modern princess. Walls in soft shades of green and pink, a small library, a digital piano, and a study area. Lena, his secretary, found herself having to add unusual commitments to her schedule, such as buying school supplies and choosing curtains for the children's room. The visits expanded beyond Saturdays. Daniel began picking Sophia up after work a few times during the week, taking her out for ice cream, movies, or just hanging out at his apartment, where she now had her own space. It was during one of these afternoons that Sophia asked another of her insightful questions. "Daniel, when are you going to be my real father?" He was helping her with a math homework when the question came. His heart raced, but his answer was honest. "I'm working on it, little one. Some things take time to happen just right." "How do you plant a tree?" she asked, making an analogy. "With the science project she was developing at the foundation." "Exactly," Daniel smiled. "We need to prepare the soil, take care of the seed, be patient. But when it grows, it becomes strong and beautiful." Sophia seemed satisfied with the explanation, turning her attention back to the numbers in front of her. Daniel, however, remained thoughtful. The adoption process was moving forward, but there were times when a strange feeling bothered him, as if there was something he wasn't seeing. That night, after taking Sophia back to the foundation, Daniel found an envelope on his desk with the last documents needed to finalize the process. Among them was an old photo of Sophia as a baby, part of the initial record of her arrival in the adoption system. There was something familiar about that image that he couldn't quite place. He tucked the photo away in his folder, making a mental note to examine the feeling more closely later. For now, his focus was on finishing the last details so that Sophia could finally have the home she so deserved. What Daniel didn't know was that that simple photograph would be the first thread in a web of revelations that would forever change the fate of everyone involved. On a Thursday morning, as the sun began to gild the city's buildings, Anna Novak sat intently on her laptop in her small apartment. Her fingers scrolled across the screen where an image of Sophia and Daniel at a charity event had gone viral on social media. The girl sang, her sweet voice filling the room, while the businessman filmed her with evident fatherly pride. Anna paused the video at the exact moment Sophia smiled. That smile. It was like looking into a mirror from the past. The same honey-colored eyes, the same way she tilted her head slightly when she smiled, even the small mole near her right eyebrow. These were features she knew intimately. "It can't be a coincidence," she muttered to herself as she opened a drawer in her desk. From it, she pulled out an old yellowed photo, herself at age 6, singing in a school performance. The resemblance was uncanny. Over the past 6 years, Anna had become an expert in digital investigation. Working as an investigative journalist wasn't just her job, it was her way of staying connected to the hope of finding her daughter. Every illegal adoption case she investigated was a possibility. Every false lead was another reason to keep searching. Her apartment had an entire wall dedicated to her personal research. Newspaper clippings, documents, photos, and notes formed a complex mosaic that only she fully understood. In the center was a photo of a baby, her Sophia at 4 months old, the last record she had of her daughter. With trembling fingers, Anna began to research more about Daniel Mueller. The businessman was a well-known figure in business circles, but in recent months he had gained notoriety for his personal transformation after adopting Sophia. Society magazines were calling him the billionaire with the melting heart. Sophia Mueller, Anna said the girl's full name, feeling a tightness in her chest. Her daughter had been named Sophia Romano, her family's surname. Now she bore the name of one of the most influential families in the country. Determined, Anna began to make a plan. She couldn't just show up and make accusations. Years of journalistic investigation had taught her the importance of caution. She needed to get close, get concrete evidence, understand exactly how Sophia had gotten to Daniel. A recent news story caught her attention. The Mueller Group was looking for a new editor-in-chief for its corporate magazine. It was the perfect opportunity. He spent the next few hours putting together a flawless portfolio, highlighting his award-winning reporting and corporate communications experience. He carefully omitted his investigations into irregular adoptions. That part of his work needed to remain secret. "This time is different," she said to herself, looking at the photo of baby Sophia. "This time, I found you." The next morning, Anna showed up at the imposing Mueller building. She was dressed in a discreet navy blue business suit, her brown hair tied back in an elegant bun. Every detail of her appearance had been thought out to convey professionalism and reliability. Daniel's secretary, Lena, met her for the initial interview. "Miss Novak, your resume is impressive, especially your work with humanized narratives in corporate journalism." Anna smiled politely, her heart racing as she saw a photo of Sophia at a recent company party on Lena's desk. The girl was wearing an emerald green dress and was smiling broadly, just like she herself had in the childhood photos. "Mr. Muller is looking for someone who can bring a fresh perspective to our publications," Lena continued, "especially now that the company is investing more in social projects." "I believe I can make a significant contribution," Anna replied, maintaining her professional composure as her mind registered every detail of her surroundings. "I'm particularly interested in stories that show how companies can positively impact people's lives." The interview went perfectly. At the end, Lena informed that she was among the finalists and that a second interview would be scheduled, this time with Daniel Muller himself. As she left the building, Anna allowed a few tears to escape. 6 years of tireless searching, and now she was just a few steps away from her daughter. But the questions that plagued her were devastating. How to tell the truth without destroying the life Sophia had built, how to confront one of the most powerful men in the country, and most of all, could her daughter forgive her for not finding her sooner? That night in her apartment, Anna added new information to her research wall. At the center now was also the viral photo of Sophia singing. 2 images of the same girl, separated by 6 years of absence, pain, and hope. "Mommy is coming, my love," he whispered, gently touching the photograph. "This time, nothing will separate us." The day of the second interview arrived with dizzying speed. Daniel was in his office reviewing the resumes of the finalists when Anna Novak's name caught his attention in a peculiar way. There was something in her professional history that demonstrated an almost obsessive dedication to research related to social causes. That morning, Sophia had called him, as she did every day before going to school, a habit they both developed. Naturally, "Daniel, today I'm going to present my science project, remember our tree?" "Of course I remember, little one. I'm sure you'll do just fine." "Will you come see me later? I have some important interviews today, but I promise we'll spend the whole afternoon together tomorrow." The sound of Sophia's laughter was still ringing in her ears when Anna walked into her office. She was wearing a cream blazer over a white blouse, her professional demeanor contrasted by a barely noticeable uneasiness in her eyes. "Miss Novak, welcome," Daniel greeted her, indicating the chair across from her. Anna sat down, and for a fleeting moment, her eyes fixed on the photo of Sophia that Daniel kept on his desk. He noticed this small detail, but attributed it to the fact that his story with Sophia had become known in the media. "Your investigative journalism work is impressive," Daniel began, "but I confess that I am intrigued by your move into the corporate sector." Anna maintained her composure even as her heart raced. "I believe that big companies have the power to bring about meaningful change in society. Their stories need to be told in an authentic and human way." The interview flowed naturally, with Anna demonstrating not only professional competence, but also a unique sensitivity to human stories. Daniel found himself genuinely impressed by her articulateness and insightful eye. "Is there something in particular that attracted you to the Muller Group?" he asked following his interview script. Anna hesitated for a split second. "Your recent change in perspective regarding social responsibility, especially after," she paused, "after your daughter's adoption." Daniel smiled, his face lighting up at the mention of Sophia. "She changed everything, you know. She made me see the world in a completely different way." "Children have that power," Anna said, her voice betraying an emotion she tried to hide. "They show us truths we sometimes prefer to ignore." Something about the way she spoke made Daniel frown slightly. There was an unusual depth to her words, as if they carried a hidden meaning. The conversation was interrupted by the phone. It was from Sophia's school. "Mr. Muller, Sophia is feeling a little unwell. Would it be possible to come and pick her up?" Daniel immediately stood up. "Sure, I'm on my way." Turning to Anna, he apologized. "We need to wrap this up. Lena will be in touch about next steps. Anna nodded, watching as he quickly organized his belongings to leave. The genuine concern on his face was evident. "Is your daughter okay?" She couldn't resist asking. "Yeah, probably just tired. She was really excited about her science project presentation today." "About trees?" Anna asked, before she could stop herself. Daniel paused for a moment, surprised. "How do you know?" "I read a recent article about the Foundation's educational projects," she improvised quickly. Daniel seemed to accept the explanation, although something in his expression suggested a slight distrust. They said their formal goodbyes, and Anna watched. Through the window, as 15 minutes later, Daniel's Porsche sped out of the parking lot. Alone in the elevator, Anna allowed her emotions to surface. Seeing the man who was now her daughter's father up close had been more intense than she had expected. It was clear that he loved Sophia deeply, and that made everything even more complex. In her apartment that night, Anna added new notes to her investigation. Daniel Müller did not seem to be aware of the irregular origins of Sophia's adoption. His love for the girl was genuine, that was undeniable, but the truth needed to come out, not just for her sake, but especially for Sophia's. Meanwhile, in his penthouse, Daniel watched over Sophia, who had fallen asleep on the couch after drinking some chamomile tea. Looking at her serene little face, he could not imagine that. The woman he had interviewed earlier was much more than a candidate for a job. She was someone who would come to completely transform their lives. The next morning, Lena walked into Daniel's office with a worried expression. In her hands, she held a folder with the results of the routine investigation done on the final candidates. "Mr. Müller, we found something interesting about Anna Novak," Lena began hesitantly. In addition to her official journalistic work, she maintains a blog under a pseudonym focusing on investigations into irregular adoptions. Daniel, who was signing some documents, looked up with interest. "Continue." Over the past 6 years, she has published dozens of articles on the subject. Some of them have led to official investigations and even the discovery of illegal adoption schemes. An uneasy feeling began to form in Daniel's stomach. Why didn't she mention this on her resume? "Maybe because it's a sensitive topic," Lena replied cautiously. "Especially considering your current situation with Sophia." Daniel leaned back in his chair, deep in thought. The previous day's interview came back to him. Anna's peculiar interest in Sophia, the way her eyes lingered on the photograph. Her comment about the science project. "I want every article she's published," he ordered, "and schedule a meeting with Dr. Luca." Dr. Alexander Luca had been the lawyer in charge of Sophia's adoption process. Daniel vaguely remembered how everything had gone relatively quickly and smoothly, something he attributed at the time to his influence and resources. While he waited for the documents, Daniel opened his drawer and took out the folder with Sophia's adoption documents. Among them was that old photo that had intrigued him days ago. Now looking more closely, he noticed something that had escaped him before. The baby's eyes in the photo were identical to Anna Novak's. His heart started beating faster. Was it possible? On the other side of town, Anna was also making her own discoveries. Through contacts she had cultivated over years of investigation, she had gained access to information about Sophia's adoption process. There were glaring inconsistencies, dates that didn't match, documents with questionable signatures, witnesses who seemed to be non-existent. Standing in her apartment, staring at the wall covered in evidence, Anna felt tears well up. Each new document confirmed her suspicions. Sophia was indeed her daughter, and her adoption had been part of a larger child trafficking scheme. Her phone rang, interrupting her thoughts. It was Lena, informing her that she had been selected for the position. "Mr. Müller would like you to start next Monday," the secretary said. Anna thanked her, her controlled voice masking the storm of emotions she felt. This closeness to Daniel and consequently to Sophia was exactly what she needed to gather the last necessary evidence. That afternoon, Daniel picked up Sophia from school. The little girl was excited, telling him about her day and how strong her tree was growing. "Daniel, can I ask you a question?" Sophia said suddenly, her tone more serious. Sure, little one. What were my real parents like? The question caught Daniel off guard. It was the first time Sophia had shown curiosity about her origins. Why do you want to know this now? Today at school, the teacher asked us to make a family tree. Everyone else knew how to tell about their grandparents and great-grandparents, but His voice trailed off a little. Daniel parked the car and turned to her. Sophia, family isn't just about blood. It's about love, about choices we make with our hearts. I know, she smiled slightly, but sometimes I dream about a woman. She sings to me and smells nice like flowers. Is it just a dream? Daniel felt his heart tighten. The coincidences were piling up in a way he could no longer ignore. Back at the office after leaving Sophia with her nanny, Daniel found Anna's blog articles on his desk. He started reading them, and with each page he felt his world crumble a little more. One of the cases she investigated described a situation eerily similar to Sophia's adoption: forged documents, suspicious intermediaries, a mother who had never voluntarily given up her daughter. At that moment, Lena hurriedly entered her room. Mr. Miller, Dr. Luca, he's disappeared. His office was cleared out overnight, and no one can reach him. Daniel looked at Sophia's photo on his desk, then at Anna's articles, and finally at the adoption papers in his hands. The truth was beginning to unfold, and he was unprepared for the impact it would have on their lives. Anna's first week at the Müller Group was an emotional roller coaster. Every moment spent in the same room as Daniel, every photo of Sophia in the hallways, every story about the little girl she heard from the staff was like a needle in her heart. But she maintained her impeccable professional composure, quickly earning the respect of the team. Daniel, for his part, spent those days divided between his growing suspicion about Anna and the paralyzing fear of losing Sophia. He observed his new employee discreetly, noticing details that had previously escaped him. The same way she tilted her head when she was thoughtful, the same restrained smile, gestures that he saw daily in Sophia. On Thursday, something unexpected happened. Sophia had insisted on visiting her father's office after school, something she rarely did. When the elevator opened on the presidential floor, Anna was talking to Lena near the reception desk. "Daniel!" Sophia ran to hug her father, but stopped abruptly when she saw Anna. Time seemed to freeze. Mother and daughter faced each other for the first time in 6 years, although Sophia did not know the significance of that moment. Anna felt her legs weaken, but she stood firm. "Sophia, this is Anna Novak, our new editor-in-chief," Daniel introduced, his voice betraying an underlying tension. "Hi," Sophia said shyly, but her eyes never left Anna's face. "Do I know you?" Anna swallowed. "Why do you ask that, dear?" "I don't know, Ton. You remind me of someone. Someone from my dream." Daniel watched the interaction with his heart racing. The similarity between the two was undeniable, especially now that they were face to face. "Sophia, why don't you go with Lena to get that hot chocolate you like?" Daniel suggested, needing a moment alone with Anna. After Sophia left, the silence in the hallway was palpable. "Miss Novak, I would like to speak in private," Daniel said, indicating his office. Inside the office, the words felt too heavy to say. Daniel walked to his desk, picked up Anna's blog articles and placed them on the table. "When were you planning to tell me about your investigations?" Anna didn't seem surprised. In fact, she seemed relieved that the subject had finally come to light. "Mr. Müller, Daniel, 6 years ago my daughter was taken from me. Not by choice, not by abandonment, but by a criminal scheme that took advantage of my vulnerability at that moment." Daniel sat, feeling the weight of every word. "Continue," he urged, his voice hoarse. "I was young, alone and struggling financially. A lawyer came along and offered help. He said he knew people who could help me with money to raise my daughter. But it was a trap." Anna took a deep breath, the tears she had been holding back for so long starting to fall. "The next thing I knew, they had taken my Sophia. They said that if I went to the police, I would never see her again. I spent the last 6 years investigating every similar case, following every lead until I saw that video of her singing. Daniel closed his eyes, remembering the day he posted the video on social media, a moment of pride that now took on a completely different meaning. The lawyer who brokered your adoption was Alexander Luca. Anna nodded. He was part of a larger network. When I started getting closer to the truth, he disappeared. Why apply for the position? Why not come to me directly? Because I needed to understand. I needed to see with my own eyes what kind of father you were to her. And, she hesitated, because I was afraid. Afraid that using legal means might result in Sophia being taken to a shelter during the process. Daniel stood up, walking to the window. The city continued its rhythm outside, oblivious to the drama unfolding in that room. She's happy, he said finally. She has a stable life, dreams, projects. I know, Anna replied softly. I saw it today. I saw it in her eyes. But she also feels like something is missing. Those dreams she mentioned, they're not just dreams, Daniel, they're memories. At that moment, Sophia returned to the room, her smile brightening the tense atmosphere. She was holding 2 cups of hot chocolate. I brought you one too, Anna, she said, holding out one of the glasses. Sophia's innocent gesture broke something inside both adults. There she was, unconsciously trying to connect the 2 parts of her life that had been brutally separated. Daniel looked at Anna, then at Sophia, and made a decision that would change the course of their lives. We need to talk, he said to both of them. All of us. Daniel's penthouse had never felt so quiet as it did that night. Sophia was in her room, engrossed in her books, while the 2 adults faced each other in the living room, the weight of the truth hanging between them. How are we going to tell her? Daniel asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Anna ran her hand through her hair, a gesture Sophia often made when she was nervous. We can't just throw this at her. We have to be careful, think about the emotional impact. Daniel nodded, feeling a mixture of fear and resignation. She has a right to know her true story. For a moment they were silent, each lost in their own thoughts. It was Anna who finally broke the silence. Daniel, I want you to know that I'm not here to take Sophia away from you. I see the love you have for her, the home you've built. My biggest fear has always been that she would have fallen into the hands of people who didn't truly love her. Anna's words touched Daniel deeply. He looked into her eyes, seeing in them the same devotion he felt for Sophia. What do you propose then? A gradual transition, allowing Sophia and I to get to know each other better, building a relationship before revealing the full truth, and maybe finding a way to be a family, all of us. The proposal hung in the air, full of possibilities and challenges. Before Daniel could respond, Sophia's voice echoed through the hallway. Daniel, can I show my new drawing to Anna? The 2 exchanged a meaningful look before Daniel called out, Sure, little one. Come here. Sophia entered the room, holding a colorful piece of paper. Her eyes lit up when she saw Anna still there. Without hesitation, she sat between the 2 of them on the sofa, as if that were the most natural place in the world. Look, I drew our tree. But I added something new, she explained, pointing to the drawing. On the paper, there was a large tree with 3 figures underneath. One clearly represented Daniel, another Sophia, and the third, It's you, Anna, Sophia said excitedly. I don't know why, but I felt like you should be here too. Anna felt tears form in her eyes while Daniel swallowed hard, overcome with emotion. It's a beautiful drawing, Sophia, Anna managed to say, her voice breaking. You know, Sophia continued, thoughtfully, at school we're learning about different types of families. The teacher said that some children have 2 fathers, some have 2 mothers, some live with their grandparents. Family is who we love, isn't it? Daniel and Anna exchanged glances, surprised by the girl's wisdom. Exactly, dear, Daniel replied, hugging Sophia. Family is who we love, and who loves us back. At that moment, they made the silent decision to move forward together, step by step, building a new reality that included the 3 of them. Over the next few weeks, Anna became a constant presence in Sophia's life. Walks in the park, afternoons of reading, painting sessions. Every moment was an opportunity for reconnection, for rediscovery. Daniel watched the interaction between mother and daughter with mixed emotions. There were moments of jealousy, of course, but a feeling of completeness prevailed, as if a long-lost piece of the puzzle had finally been found. A month after that revealing night, during a picnic in the park, Sophia asked the question everyone was waiting for. Anna, why do I feel like I've known you for so long? It's like you're a part of me. Anna looked at Daniel, who nodded softly. It was time. Sophia, my dear, there is a very special story we need to tell you. A story about love, separation, and reunion. And so, under the shade of the tree that Sophia loved so much, they began to gently unravel the truth. They talked about the past, about the circumstances that had separated them, but they focused mainly on love, the love that had never ceased to exist, the love that had brought them together again. Sophia listened to everything with a maturity that was surprising for her age. There were tears, questions, moments of confusion, but above all there was acceptance. So, I have two parents now? She asked finally, looking from Daniel to Anna. If that's what you want, my love, Daniel replied, his voice thick with emotion. Sophia was silent for a moment, processing everything. Then, to both their surprise and relief, she smiled broadly. Does this mean I can have twice as many bedtime stories? The laughter that followed was cathartic, releasing all the pent-up tension. In that moment, under the blue city sky, a new family was born, not defined by blood or papers, but by the unconditional love they shared. The road ahead would be challenging, with legal issues to be resolved, adjustments to be made, but they were willing to face it all together. Daniel, Anna, and Sophia, three hearts that, despite all the adversities, found their way back to each other. The months that followed brought a series of changes and adjustments for the newly formed family. Daniel, Anna, and Sophia embarked on a journey of rediscovery and adaptation, navigating the emotional and practical complexities of their unique situation. One of the first decisions was about living arrangements. After much discussion and consideration, they decided on a solution that would allow Sophia to maintain the stability of her home with Daniel, while building a closer relationship with Anna. They decided that Anna would move into an apartment in the same building, a few floors below Daniel's penthouse. That way I'll always be around, Anna explained to Sophia as they unpacked boxes in their new home. And you can come visit me whenever you want. Sophia, excited about the idea, was already making plans. We can have sleepovers here, and I can decorate a little corner just for me. Seeing her daughter's enthusiasm warmed Anna's heart, easing the pain of the lost years. Meanwhile, Daniel faced his own challenges. Accustomed to having total control over Sophia's life, he now had to learn to share decisions and important moments. There were moments of tension, of course, but their priority was always Sophia's well-being. One night, after putting Sophia to bed, Daniel and Anna sat on the rooftop balcony, the illuminated city stretching out before them. You know, Daniel began, looking out over the horizon, I never imagined my life would turn out this way. A year ago, I was a man focused solely on business, with no idea what I was missing. Anna smiled softly. And I was a woman consumed by the search, not knowing if I would ever find my daughter. It's amazing how things change. Thank you, Daniel, said suddenly, turning to face her, for not giving up, for fighting for her, and for allowing me to continue being her father. Anna's eyes filled with tears. Thank you for taking such good care of her when I couldn't, for giving her the love and security I always dreamed of for my daughter. At that moment, something changed between them. It wasn't just gratitude, but a mutual understanding, a connection based on their shared love for Sophia. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. Sophia blossomed with the love of both her parents, her vibrant personality expanding with new experiences and learnings. Anna brought elements of her own childhood into the girl's life. Songs she used to sing, stories from her family, even traditional recipes that her grandmother had taught her. Daniel, in turn, continued to be Sophia's safe haven, her adventure companion and confidant. One day, during a walk in the park, Sophia surprised the two with a question. "Do you think one day you could love each other like in fairy tales?" Daniel and Anna exchanged surprised glances, a slight blush coloring their faces. "Love comes in many forms, my dear," Anna replied carefully. "The important thing is that we all love and care for each other." Daniel nodded, adding, "Sometimes love grows slowly like a seed. Other times it surprises us when we least expect it." Sophia seemed satisfied with the answer, but the moment planted a seed of possibility in the adults' hearts. As they worked together to create a harmonious environment for Sophia, Daniel and Anna found themselves growing closer. They shared concerns, celebrated achievements, and gradually the barriers between them began to dissolve. Meanwhile, the outside world faced other challenges. Sophia's story, once revealed, attracted media attention. Daniel used his influence to protect the family's privacy, while Anna channeled her journalistic expertise to control the narrative. Together, they decided to use their platform to shed light on the issues of illegal adoption and child trafficking. They created a foundation dedicated to helping families separated by similar circumstances, offering legal and emotional support. On a starry night, almost a year after the family reunion, Daniel, Anna, and Sophia stood on the rooftop balcony. Sophia, nestled between them, pointed out the constellations she had recently learned. "Look, that's the family constellation," he exclaimed excitedly. Daniel and Anna looked at each other confused. "There is no constellation called that, dear," Daniel said gently. Sophia smiled, that smile that melted both of their hearts. "I know, but those stars over there, see? They form a perfect triangle, like the three of us, our family constellation." In that moment, under the city sky with Sophia between them and a future full of possibilities ahead, Daniel and Anna felt that, finally, all the pieces had fallen into place. It was not a fairy tale ending, but the beginning of a real story, full of love, challenges, and above all, hope. Time passed, and with it, the family dynamics of Daniel, Anna, and Sophia continued to evolve. 2 years had passed since their initial meeting, and what was once a delicate and uncertain situation had transformed into a solid and loving reality. Sophia, now 8 years old, has blossomed into a confident and lively girl. Her passion for music, inherited from Anna, has grown exponentially. Daniel, recognizing his daughter's talent, transformed one of the rooms in the penthouse into a small studio where Sophia would spend hours composing her own melodies. One Saturday afternoon, while Sophia practiced the piano, Daniel and Anna chatted in the kitchen, preparing dinner together, a routine they had developed naturally. "Have you seen the Foundation's latest report?" Anna asked, chopping vegetables. "The number of families we've managed to reunite this year is impressive." Daniel smiled proudly. The Novos Lasos Foundation, created by them to help cases similar to Sophia's, had become a successful project, uniting families and combating illegal adoption networks. "Yes, I did. It's incredible what we were able to accomplish in such a short time," he replied, tasting the sauce he was preparing. "But you know what's even more incredible? Seeing how all of this has positively impacted Sophia." Anna nodded, looking toward the music room. "She understands the importance of what we do. Sometimes I'm surprised at how mature she is when she talks about it." At that moment, Sophia walked into the kitchen, her eyes shining with excitement. "I've finished my new song. Do you want to hear it?" They both dropped what they were doing and followed the girl to the piano. Sophia sat down, took a deep breath, and began to play. The melody was soft, with notes that intertwined in a complex way, creating a surprising harmony for someone so young. Daniel and Anna exchanged emotional glances. There was their daughter, expressing through music the love and unity they had built together. When Sophia finished, they applauded enthusiastically. "She's beautiful, my love," Anna said, hugging her daughter. "What's her name?" Sophia smiled, that smile that lit up the room. "It's called 3 Hearts. It's about us." Daniel felt a lump in his throat. "You're perfect, Sophia, just like our family." Later that night, after Sophia had gone to bed, Daniel and Anna sat on the porch, as they often did. The city glittered below them, but the glow in their eyes rivaled the city lights. "You know," Daniel began, his voice soft, "I never imagined I could be this happy. Having Sophia had already changed my life. But having you here, it completes our family in a way I didn't know we needed." Anna looked at him, her heart racing. Over the past 2 years, her feelings for Daniel had transformed. What had started as mutual respect and partnership in raising Sophia had blossomed into something deeper. "Daniel," she said, gathering her courage, "I think it's time we talked about us." He turned to face her, a mix of hope and apprehension in his eyes. "About us?" "Yes," Anna continued, "about how, without realizing it, we built not only a family for Sophia, but something special between the two of us." Daniel took her hand, feeling the electricity in her touch. "I've been thinking about this a lot," he confessed, "about how you've become essential not only to Sophia, but to me as well." In that moment, under the starry sky of the city, Daniel and Anna allowed themselves to explore the feelings that had been silently growing. Their first kiss was soft, full of promise and possibility. The next morning, when they told Sophia about this new phase in their relationship, they were surprised by the girl's enthusiastic reaction. "Finally," she exclaimed, jumping for joy. "I knew you loved each other. Now we're a real family." The months that followed brought new challenges and joys. Daniel and Anna carefully navigated this new dynamic, always putting Sophia's well-being first. They decided to maintain separate living arrangements for the time being, giving everyone time to adjust. The New Ties Foundation continued to grow, becoming a powerful force in the fight against illegal adoptions. Sophia, inspired by her own family story, began writing songs that told stories of reunion and hope. On a special night, almost 3 years after their initial reunion, Daniel, Anna, and Sophia were once again on the rooftop balcony. Sophia was playing her new composition on the small keyboard they had installed there, while her parents danced slowly, embracing each other. Watching the scene, Sophia felt her heart overflow with happiness. Their family constellation was no longer just a set of stars in the sky. It was a living, breathing reality, full of love, understanding, and above all, the certainty that no matter what fate had in store, they would face it together. And so under the city sky, a family that began as a fractured family became an example of how love, perseverance, and courage can overcome even the most challenging circumstances. Sophia's 10th birthday was approaching, marking not only a decade of her life, but also 4 years since her family reunited. Daniel and Anna planned a special celebration that would symbolize not only Sophia's growth, but also the journey they had traveled together. One Saturday morning, while Sophia was in her music class, Daniel surprised Anna with an unexpected proposal. "What do you think about us getting married on Sophia's birthday?" he asked, his eyes shining with anticipation. Anna was speechless for a moment, overcome with emotion at the thought. "Daniel, this would be perfect, to officially unite our family on the day we celebrate her life." Planning began immediately, with Sophia involved in every detail. The girl was thrilled with the idea, insisting on composing a special song for the ceremony. As preparations for the party and wedding progressed, the Novos Lasos Foundation faced one of its most challenging cases. A young mother, Mary, had approached the foundation, seeking help in recovering her son, Leo, who had been taken by an illegal adoption ring 5 years earlier. Daniel and Anna dove into the case, recognizing echoes of their own story. They worked tirelessly, using every resource and contact they had to track down Leo's whereabouts. Sophia, observing her parents' dedication, decided she wanted to help too. With a maturity that surprised everyone, she suggested organizing a benefit concert, where she would play her compositions to raise funds and awareness for the foundation's work. "I want to use my music to help other children find their families, just like you found me," she explained, determined. Sophia's concert was scheduled for the eve of her birthday at the city's theater. The news spread quickly, attracting the attention of the media and important figures in society. On the night of the event, the theater was packed. Sophia, dressed in a beautiful sky blue dress, sat at the piano with a confidence that tugged at her parents' hearts. Her little hands danced over the keys, filling the room with melodies that spoke of hope, love, and reunion. In the audience, Mary, the mother searching for her son, listened with tears in her eyes. Sophia's music seemed to speak directly to her soul, renewing her hope. At the end of the concert, as the audience gave a standing ovation, Daniel and Anna went up on stage to hug their daughter. At that moment, Lena, Daniel's faithful secretary, ran to them with urgent news. "We found Leo," she whispered, excited. "The family that adopted him didn't know where he came from. They're willing to cooperate." The news spread quickly among those present. Mary, hearing her name called, came up to the stage trembling. Daniel, with tears in his eyes, announced that his son had been located and that they would soon be reunited. The theater erupted in applause and tears of emotion. Sophia, understanding the impact of the moment, began to softly play Three Hearts, the song she had composed for her family. The next morning, on the day of Sophia's birthday and wedding, the family woke up to the news that Leo was on his way to town with his adoptive parents. They decided to invite Mary and Leo to the celebration, symbolizing the mission of togetherness that had become the heart of their lives. The ceremony was held in the garden of the Müller mansion, decorated with white and blue flowers, Sophia's favorite colors. The girl, radiant in her bridesmaid dress, led Anna down the makeshift aisle to Daniel, who was waiting excitedly. Among the guests, Mary held Leo's hand, finally reunited after years of separation. Her eyes shone with gratitude and hope. When Marty, the time came to take the vows, Daniel and Anna surprised everyone by inviting Sophia to join them. "Today we are not just getting married," Daniel began. "We are celebrating our family, born of love, grown through adversity and strengthened by truth." Anna continued, her voice choked with emotion. "Sophia, you are the heart of this family. It was because of you that we found each other, and it is with you that we built this love." Sophia, with tears in her eyes, added, "And I promise to always play the music of our hearts, so that we never forget the miracle that is our family." As they exchanged rings and sealed their union with a kiss, Sophia began to play the piano they had placed in the garden. The melody of Three Hearts filled the air, symbolizing not only their journey, but hope for all families seeking to be reunited. In that moment, under the blue sky of the city, surrounded by friends, family, and those who had helped them, Daniel, Anna, and Sophia were not just a family, they were a living symbol that love, when true, can overcome any obstacle and rewrite any story. 5. Years had passed since Daniel and Anna's wedding, and Sophia's 15th birthday was approaching. The Müller family, once fragmented and rebuilt, was now a beacon of hope for many in Sao Paulo and beyond. Sophia, at 15, had become a talented pianist and composer, her songs touching hearts across the country. Her latest album, Ecos do Reencontro, inspired by the stories of families reunited by the Novos Laços Foundation, had reached the top of the charts and brought international attention to the cause. On a sunny afternoon, the family gathered on the rooftop balcony, their usual special place. Daniel, now with a few grey hairs at his temples, looked proudly at his daughter and wife. "I have a surprise for you," Sophia announced, her eyes shining with excitement. "I've been invited to perform at the UN in New York. They want me to talk about our work at the foundation." Anna hugged her daughter, overcome with emotion. "Oh, honey, that's wonderful. Your talent is really making a difference in the world." Daniel smiled thoughtfully. "You know, sometimes I wonder what our lives would be like if we hadn't met that day." "I'd probably still be the Iceman," he laughed, using his old nickname in business circles. Anna took his hand, intertwining their fingers. "And I would still be searching, not knowing that my heart had already found a home." Sophia watched her parents with a soft smile. Their journey had shaped not only their family, but also their understanding of love, perseverance, and the power of truth. "I think it's time we expand our work even further," Sophia suggested, surprising her parents. "What if we created a cultural center alongside the foundation, a place where children can learn music, art, and where families in the process of reuniting can heal through artistic expression. Daniel and Anna exchanged admiring glances. Their daughter, once the reason for their union, now inspired them to reach new horizons. "That's a brilliant idea, Sophia," Daniel agreed. "We can use the land next to the foundation. I'll talk to the architectural team on Monday." Anna added excitedly, "We can invite artists and therapists to workshops. Imagine how many lives we can touch." In the months that followed, the project for the Novos Lasos Cultural Center took shape. Sophia was deeply involved, balancing her time between preparing for the UN concert and developing the new space. The day of the New York performance finally arrived. The General Assembly Hall was packed with diplomats, world leaders, and children's rights activists. Sophia, dressed in an elegant sapphire blue gown, sat at the piano. Before she began to play, she addressed the audience. "The song I will play today is called Symphony of Tomorrow. It tells not just my story, but the story of every child who yearns for a home, for love, for identity. Every note is a promise that with compassion and determination, we can build a world where no child feels lost or forgotten." The first notes filled the hall, and a reverent silence fell over the audience. The melody was at once melancholic and hopeful, weaving an emotional narrative that spoke directly to the heart of each listener. Behind the scenes, Daniel and Anna watched with tears in their eyes, their hands tightly clasped. In that moment, they saw not only their daughter, but the living symbol of everything they had fought for and achieved. As the song came to an end, there was a moment of absolute silence before the room erupted in applause. Sophia stood up, giving a graceful bow. Her face lit up with the emotion of the moment. Back in São Paulo, inspired by the success of the concert and the global impact that their story was having, the Müller family dedicated themselves even more zealously to building the Cultural Center. On the opening day, a year after the UN concert, the venue was packed with families, children, artists, and supporters. Sophia, now 16, cut the ribbon alongside her parents. Daniel, in his opening speech, looked at his family and the gathered crowd. "This center is more than a building. It is a testament to the power of love, truth, and art to transform lives. It is a place where broken stories can be rewritten, where music can heal deep wounds, and where every child can find their voice." Anna added, her voice thick with emotion, "7 years ago, our family was brought together by a miracle of love and perseverance. Today, we are here to extend that miracle to everyone in need. Because every child deserves a home, every family deserves a chance at healing." Sophie, looking at the hopeful faces around her, felt a surge of gratitude and purpose. She knew her journey was far from over. In fact, it was just the beginning of a new symphony, one that would echo for generations, inspiring others to believe in the transformative power of love and truth. As the doors to the Cultural Center officially opened, the Müller family shared a hug, their 3 hearts beating in unison. They had transformed their personal story of loss and redemption into a legacy of hope for the world. And so, under the city sky, a new era began, not just for Daniel, Anna, and Sophia, but for all the families who, inspired by their story, would dare to believe in the possibility of new beginnings and rewritten happy endings.